All right, take two. Now, you may have noticed I have changed my chair. That is because I've hit 6 months in my pregnancy. I hadn't announced it yet, but yeah, I'm pregnant and 6 months in, and there's a broken spring in my usual reading chair, and it was just making me slouch and like really low, and that's not good for baby. So I'm in my office chair, which has better lumbar support, so here we are. I'm going to do my best to keep this brief, but this is a very long book. So I apologize for the length of this. Again, this is going to be a full recap. I know last time in the first one I said review, I meant recap. I'm literally going through everything so everybody knows what to expect. If you need a refresher, this is your refresher for when whether you call it book 5 or book 6, comes out. And I am filming this on Calamite. I would have waited until tomorrow, but I already did my makeup because I filmed this before once. Hopefully my technology is with me on this one. Did my makeup, and I wanted to film it on Calamite. Today is Calamite. It's nighttime, so like I had to really finagle the lighting in my office just so I could get decent lighting for this. So please bear with me. It's not going to be my usual because I usually film when the sun is still out, and so the lighting's a little bit different. I also wanted to note that I am keeping tabs with Bloomsbury on my phone, and I am noting that they are doing all of this advertising that book 6, something's going to be announced soon. They're doing way too much advertising for it not to be. And I know there were talks about it happening today. I haven't seen anything, but I wanted to get this up before any announcement is made because I do want to make a video if there is an announcement to talk about the new title and all that and my theories on where that goes. But I do want to get like the rest of this all done, just FYI. Just to recap what happened in the first book. So we're caught up with this one. Little recap. ACOTAR is a Beauty and the Beast retelling with Farah as Belle and Tamlin as Beast. Best Boy Lucian and Shadow Daddy Reese make their appearances. We also get a brief introduction to Farah's sisters, Nesta and Elaine. And Tamlin, throughout the whole book of ACOTAR, is hiding Farah under the guise of being cursed and not being able to say anything. We know now that's a lie.
You said no. The lie detector determined that was a lie.
And Big Bad Amarantha makes her big move by kidnapping Tamlin. And so Farah saves Tamlin and all of fairy kind and is rewarded with death, resurrection as a fairy, serious trauma, a sick arm tattoo that signifies her agreement to be kidnapped to the Night Court for a week out of every month for the rest of her life, and a new fiance, Tamlin. We begin A Court of Mist and Fury rather shortly after the events. It's been a couple months. According to Sarah J. Maas, it was, I think, 3 months, and the book starts at like the last, well, not really the last part, but the last month of that 3 months or 4 months. It's a little hazy. Anyway, it's been a couple months since the end of ACOTAR, and Farah is back at the Spring Court. Happy Tamlin and best friend Lucian are safe and not in any serious danger. Oh my gosh, I just realized. This keeps falling. So if this falls during the recording, I apologize, but I had it set up so you can see that's the book we're talking about, A Court of Mist and Fury. I told you it would. This one doesn't like balance. Stay. 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 This book did not like me. It still doesn't like me. Anyway, so Tamlin and best friend Lucian are safe, and Tamlin is making love to Farah like every night, and they are busy planning their wedding, and they're happily ever after, and everything is supposed to be perfect, right? Wrong, because Farah is suffering from severe PTSD. I mean, she stabbed all those fairies and died herself. So, I mean, understandable. Her favorite hobby of painting brings her no joy anymore because the color red terrifies her. She keeps on getting flashbacks to all those stabbings, and yeah, she can't even look at the color red without feeling broken and being reminded of that and just having those terrible flashbacks. Just the color red is not good for her. While Tamlin is able to sleep like a baby every night in postcoital bliss, Farah is waking up every night from night terrors and vomiting her feelings. Also, because Tamlin refuses to talk about feelings, she does try to bring it up to him a couple times, but Tamlin is about as comforting as a wet blanket. He brushes it off as wedding jitters that every bride gets, which, yes, but not to this extent. And he refuses to address her feelings at all. Problems. Speaking of the wedding, yes, wedding planning is stressful for every bride, and Farah is no different. It really doesn't help that her wedding planner slash priestess of the ceremony, the person who's going to be running it, her name is Ianthe, and she seems to act like this ceremony is her ceremony. and not Tamlin or Ferris. Immediately, you get immediate vibes that Ianthe would be the ultimate bridezilla slash maid of dishonor. If you watch Charlotte Dobre, you know these kind of people. You hear about these kind of people often. That is Ianthe. Just the ultimate version of that. The problem is she's a nun, so she's never getting married. So she decides to just ruin a big day for every other couple because she has to make it about her. You know, she's the kind of person that gets a wedding save the day and she's immediately shopping for the white dress she's going to wear for that special occasion. Okay, that's Ianthe. She's a complete narcissist.
This kind of behavior is never tolerated. They put you in jail right away. No trial, no nothing. Right to jail.
And it was at that moment I knew she needed to die. Like she's just irredeemable. Just utterly irredeemable.
Right to jail, right away.
Feyre isn't too big on wedding planning. She's letting Ianthe handle like a lot of it. But she does have one big stipulation with the wedding planning, which is no red flowers. Just none, because red is not a good color for her. Again, PTSD triggering reasons. We understand this as the reader. She kind of intimates that red is just a bad color for her emotionally and does not want to see red there. If Tamlin had talked to her, he would have also understood. But that's neither here nor there.
Right to jail, right away.
Anyway, on top of all of this stress, with the spring court being back in full swing, everyone is back from under the mountain and no one's dealing with Amarantha anymore, and the spring court has all of their people back. It's time for tax season, according to Tamlin, and Feyre starts to see how cruel and unforgiving Tamlin can be, especially when he demands payment from the poorest of his subjects and refuses to hear their pleas for mercy in this trying time, since they just got back and they're still figuring their stuff out. Now, Feyre goes around him and helps this family out because she understands. I mean, Tamlin knows what she came from. She was living in poverty before she came to the spring court. So she goes and helps this family out because she's compassionate and not a total... She's not a Tamlin. This slight does not go unnoticed by Tamlin. He makes it very clear to Feyre that her job as his fiancée and wife-to-be will be to maintain the house and produce children, and anything outside of that is disrespectful to his role.
Right to jail, right away.
So Feyre's having doubts. Tamlin is pushing for the wedding to happen before Rhys asserts his custody claim. Now, not sure if it's because he thinks the agreement will be null. There's an idea that he doesn't want Hybern, the evil king across the sea, finding out about Feyre's connection to Rhys, which, like, I don't know how Hybern really knows who Feyre is, but that's a whole other thing. It's not quite clear why he's rushing it, but he's rushing it. He wants to get married before Rhys starts saying, oh, well, it's time for you to come here. And it's surprising to Feyre that Rhys hasn't come to take her yet. It's been several months, and he's just let her do her thing in the spring court. So while the wedding is barreling towards them at breakneck speed, Feyre is severely suffering. Just the PTSD, the mental trauma, all of it is just, it's compounding on her, and she has no outlet. She has nothing to help her in this situation. Tamlin's not talking to her, but still giving it to her nightly. And Lucien is telling her to just bear with it because every day is changing. Like, everything's changing every day. So he's trying to calm her down. The day of the wedding comes, and after a round of throwing up, Feyre sees the dress she's being made to wear. It's not really to her taste. It's poofy and ruffles. It's princessy in all the bad ways. But she wears it because she wants to make Tamlin happy, and she's just trying to go, it's a day, and she can get through it. She's trying to psych herself up and tell herself everything's going to be okay. She gets to the ceremony hall, the wedding hall, and as soon as the doors open, she sees the wedding hall is bedecked in red flowers. And I mean, not just like, oh, there's red flowers at the altar. I mean, the ceiling has red flowers. The arches have red flowers. There's red flowers on every single one of the pews. Even her bouquet that she's handed has red flowers. There's red flowers freaking everywhere. Okay? Now, weddings are stressful for every bride. Oftentimes, something goes horribly awry with the wedding process day of. Again, if you watch Charlotte Dobre, you know this happens. If you're on any of the Reddits where they talk about problems that happen with weddings, you should understand. It happens. For mine, we had contracted hair and makeup with one salon 10 months in advance, but my makeup artist had moved to a different salon a few weeks before the wedding, and her new salon had double booked her the day of my wedding. We had no notification that she wasn't going to be available when she originally said she was going to be, and because she was over 2 hours late to the salon we had contracted our hair and makeup with, and when I say contracted hair and makeup with, not just my hair and makeup, all of my bridesmaids' hair and makeup too. When she was 2 hours late and still wasn't there. The salon we had contracted to do hair and makeup, they attempted to cancel the contract for my hair and makeup and for all of my bridesmaids. This was the morning of my wedding. They were trying to cancel while we were sitting in the salon waiting to be seen because one person didn't show up when they were supposed to and now they were short staffed. I was borderline catatonic with shock because what the fuck? I remember at the time, the only thing going through my head was a phrase my grandmother would say when a serious screw up happened on game day. Practice was yesterday. As in, that shit should have been addressed before now. Okay? So when I say I viscerally understand her going catatonic because the flowers are so wrong, it's bordering on purposeful sabotage, you see where I'm coming from. Everything turned out great for me. My husband's a gem. My bridesmaids were able to pivot on the makeup end of things, and my photographer gave me an herbal Xanax when she saw me in distress. Farrah had none of that. Her family wasn't even invited. I don't even think she had I don't think she was allowed to have bridesmaids. Now that I think about it, she had no one. She had literally no one there. Every time she sees the color red again, she starts spiraling into thinking how broken she is and can't see how anyone would want to be shackled to her in such a state. So she's just having a panic attack in the middle of the aisle and is pleading with any god listening to her thoughts to get her the hell out of there.
Hello, fairy darling.
Now, I have mixed feelings about that line. I loved it because Reese has perfect timing. Yeah, I mean, most people loved it because the timing was just chef's kiss. Here's my thing. I also hated it because when I hear a man calling a woman darling, it's kind of like hearing the word moist to me. It's not my vibe. I just get like serious patronizing vibes and like a pat on the head if someone calls someone darling. I'm not a fan. And I know a lot of people loved it. A lot of you loved it. It's all over this book. And a lot of you say this is your favorite book and that's your favorite line. It's not my thing. I appreciate the timing. I like the timing. I'm not a fan of the word darling.
Right to jail, right away.
Anyway, Reese has showed up and enacted his custody agreement. Tells Tamlin, since she's not married yet, Tamlin has no legal claim against the agreement. There's no reason for her not to go with him. And then whisks her off to the night court, which is surprisingly not as terrible as she thought it was. She's in a sky palace that has an extensive library and huge bathtubs to accommodate wingspan. Reese lets her in that he was listening to her thoughts through the tattoo bond, and that was why he picked her up at the wedding, like got her out there because she was begging someone to stop it. Even though she kind of argues, he tells her to just go ahead and get changed. And here's another thing. As far as fashion choices in ACOTAR, this is where it gets a little weird because generally in fantasy, unless specified otherwise, the audience really kind of thinks of like medieval garments, etc. It's usually like those medieval times. However, she's pulling out knitted sweaters and leggings, which feels rather modern. There are so many posts I read about like that being weird, but moving on. So now that she's comfortable, Reese begins to teach her how to read and write as well as protect her mind.
You better lock it up. You better lock it up. No, you lock it up. You lock it up. Lock it up. Lock it up.
Wool host annual host annual an annual meeting of
She asks why he's doing all this, and he tells her about the evil King Hybern, who is preparing for war. And he wants to take all the human land south of the wall, and essentially what he tried to do last time, which was enslave all the humans. All the human lands south of the wall, i.e. where her family lives. Problems for Farrah. Hearing this, she knows Tamlin cannot be ignorant to this threat. I mean, the wall is his southern border, so he has to know something about this. She decides to address it. After her week in the night court, where she learns quite a bit, she's pretty much, I wouldn't say she's entirely literate, but she can read and write simple phrases. By the end, she knows her alphabet. She comes back to the spring court. The wedding, surprisingly, is not spoken of again. Like, there is no murmur of like, oh, well, we need to reset the date for the wedding now. Like, it's Tamlin doesn't even bring that up, which is suspicious, but whatever. She does broach the subject of training and riding to the Western Coast with Tamlin. Oh, also because while she was in the night court, she did find out that she has some powers given to her, but she doesn't know the extent of them. Back in the spring court, she wants to be trained to figure out what she can do since there's a war brewing. She also wants to ride out to the West Coast with Tamlin to see if what Reset told her was true about Hybern and his armies. Lucian agrees she should be trained and suggests that Tamlin take her with him to the Western Coast. However, Tamlin shuts it down hard, so hard, he locks her up in his castle while he's away on his trip.
Right to jail, right away.
This triggers another panic attack for Feyre, but this time all of her fairy powers kind of manifest. And again, it turns out when the High Lords revived her under the mountain, they each donated a portion of their magic. So now she's become Prithian's Mary Sue. She can do everything every High Lord can do. To save her from herself, Morrigan, Rhys's cousin, zaps in, knocks out the guards, and with Alice's help and blessing, she gets Feyre out of there and to Rhys in Valaris. Valaris is a city in the Night Court Rhys and his friends call home. It hasn't been reached in 5,000 years, and it is nothing like what the Night Court is reputed to be like. Definitely gives like Parisian vibes. At least that was what I imagined whenever she talked about the town. It really felt kind of like the classic Parisian nightlife. It's also considered the gem of the Night Court. No, it's a complete secret, and to keep this secret, Rhys sacrificed himself as Amarantha's boy toy sex doll for 50 years to protect it. Big deal bringing her here. They're in his townhome, and while she's there, she meets his band of friends. They call themselves the Court of Dreams because the Night Court, while technically is under Rhys as his birthright, he's only half High Fae. The other half is Illyrian, which like the High Fae kind of see as uncivilized warrior fairies. While he's only half High Fae, the rest of the Court of Nightmares look down on him and his friends, and the Court of Nightmares is where everybody else thinks the Night Court kind of sits, where its true seat is actually Valaris. Odd shenanigans. The Court of Dreams includes Rhys as High Lord, Amren as his second in command, Morgan, Rhys's cousin, Asriel, his spy master, and Cashin, his general. Rhys, Asriel, and Cashin, they are all Illyrians. Rhys is half Illyrian, but Asriel and Cashin are, I believe, full-blooded Illyrians. That means that they have bat wings instead of regular wings, and they are warrior fairies essentially, and they train together in the Illyrian camps, and so they kind of have this brotherly bond. Morrigan is a High Fae. Again, she's Rhys's cousin, I assume, on his dad's side. A High Fae lady of the Night Court whose engagement to Lucian's brother Eris fell through eons ago, and we hate him for it. I think it's weird. There's every book, there's more stuff that comes out about that situation, and I'm not sure we know the full picture, and I'm not sure where to fall on judging Eris yet. I don't trust him, but I'm not sure that was his fault. Anyway, and I'm not sure we should hate him for it either. More on that later. And her father runs the Court of Nightmare in Rhys's stead. He still reports to Rhys, but he runs it in his stead. We definitely hate him too. He's a straight up jerk. Lastly, Amren is essentially Fairy's closest thing to a vampire. She's from a parallel universe and was trapped in the prison for a very long time when she crossed over. But generally her personality is Aubrey Plaza with a blood habit, so she's very likable in this book. Now, add Feyre to the mix, and with the power of friendship, they will save the world from Hybern, who has found the cauldron. Their first task is to go to the prison to meet the Bone Carver to get details on what they need to bring Hybern down. The Bone Carver is as comforting as his name suggests. He tells them Jurian, an old evil general for the humans in the war eons ago, like just forever ago, he's going to be resurrected by Hybern with the cauldron. However, Hybern can't do it until he has the cauldron's feet. So while Hybern is distracted by the cauldron's feet, trying to locate them and get them attached to the cauldron, Rhys and his buddies need to find and put together the Book of Breathings, which was ripped in two, I believe, during the war, but I'm not entirely sure. One half is in the Summer Court, and the other half is with the Human Queens. So Rhys and friends go to the Archeron estate to write the Human Queens a letter requesting a meeting so they can discuss this book. Mind you, this is the first time Feyre has been back to see her family since she ran off to save Tamlin under the mountain. Now add that all together, that's like 3.5 months under the mountain, according to Sarah J. Maas. Well, I'd say 3.5. She says 3 months under the mountain, but also it took her like half a month to get under the mountain, like to run to the Spring Court and then run to the mountain. Took her about a half month. So 3.5 months-ish under the mountain, and then 4.5 months to this point in A Court of Mist and Fury from the end of ACOTAR. So 8 months total. And Feyre didn't send a letter or no communication to them saying, yeah, I'm okay, not dead, I did save my boyfriend, I got turned into a fairy, and now I've got crazy powers. Oh, by the way, I almost got married to the guy I saved under the mountain, but it fell through, so please don't fuss about not being invited to this wedding.
You're the only person I knew who lived here in the city.
Who wasn't invited to the wedding?
Oh, I was kind of hoping that wouldn't be an issue.
They get none of this. Honestly, Nesta being annoyed with her sister's back burner antics makes total sense to me. I would be very annoyed with her too, because like, you're showing up on my doorstep now and I haven't heard from you in months. Excuse me. Not to mention, Elaine is also engaged to a Lord's son, and the Lord hates fairies. Like, absolutely, he's like armed to the teeth with iron and ash, which will make future family reunions awkward. They return to Valaris and wait for an invitation to the summer court, because if they just show up on Tarkin's doorstep without an invitation, that would be considered an invasion. So Farah is training while they wait, and during this time, the sexual tension and chemistry between her and Rhys is building. There is that moment where she goes to the Weaver. I can't remember if that's this early or if that's later. They jump around a lot, and my ADHD brain could not keep track of like all of the settings.
Where? Who? You've been where? Where who?
So there's a moment where she goes to the Weaver's hut, and Rhys tells her to go get a ring. She almost dies in the process, but she does get the ring, escapes the hut, and via the chimney, she pulls like an anti-Santa Claus and gives the ring to Rhys. While all of this is happening, they're waiting for this invite to come in. They get the invite, and while Rhys and Amren are distracting Tarkin and Cressida, Farah is looking for this Book of Breathings, and she's also kind of manipulating Tarkin to do it. She's flirting with him. She's doing all this stuff, and she kind of gets the feeling that Tarkin's a really, really good guy, and she does feel bad that she's kind of manipulating him. In the end, they find out they have to go to an island that has a temple on it, and the island is occasionally underwater, or it goes underwater depending on the tide and timing. The book is being held in a vault there, and if they don't get it by a certain time, they'll drown. Farah and Amren are able to get it out of the vault, and they make it back to Valaris, making Farah feel guilty again because she did that to Tarkin. Now that they have the book, they realize it's written in Amren's otherworldly language. So while Amren gets cracking on a translation, Farah gets back to training and flirting with Rhys. However, she's feeling jealous because Rhys was also flirting with Cressida at the summer court because, again, someone had to distract Tarkin and Cressida while Amren and Farah were playing Mission Impossible. They finally hear back from the queens. They will let Rhys and his friends use the book, but they want it back, first thing. And second thing, they'll only do it if Rhys proves he's not the monster everyone says he is, because they don't want to give the book to a monster who's going to kill people. Understandable. He decides the best way to do that is to show them the secret city of Valaris, not take them to it. He does not want to show them it actually. He wants to show them a kind of image of it, but there's no way for them to know that that is a true thing unless they get the truth orb from Morgan's father. So they realize that they need to steal that and go to the Court of Nightmares to do it. So they don the sparkly dresses, and Rhys and Farah have their fake dating trope, while Azriel does his spy master stealing thing, and they get the truth orb and take it back to Valaris. This is where we start having one of those transitions where I don't know where exactly we are. Here. Something weird happens, okay? So the Night Court, or the Court of Nightmares is here. So I don't know if they are flying back, or they're going to an Illyrian camp. They mention an Illyrian camp. So that's up here. Court of Nightmares is here, so it could be somewhere in between here. However, something happens a little bit later that would suggest that it's down here, closer to the Spring Court, or up near the Weavers. I'm not sure. It's so odd, and I'm not sure I understand it.
You've been where? Where who?
On their way back, or while they're traveling, Rhys gets hit with ash arrows from Hybrid's army, and he can't use magic. Farah does her best to help conceal him, but she can't winnow like he can, and with that out of commission because he can't use magic while he's injured with ash arrows. So essentially they're just kind of hoofing it through the wild, doing their best to get back to wherever they need to go. And in this time, Rhys opens up about what actually happened between his family and Tamlin's, and Farah is just now realizing that it's not as one-sided as Tamlin made it seem. Shocker. While she's out trying to get them supplies one time so Rhys can heal up and winnow, she runs into Lucian, who's out on a training mission with people from the Spring Court. Again, this is where like it would suggest it's lower down, not all the way up in the Night Court. Odd. Lucian's out on a training mission with people from the Spring Court, and Lucian, seeing her, tries to convince her that she needs to come back to the Spring Court and that Tamlin's all worried about her. She tells him essentially to pound sand because he saw her struggling at the castle, and while he did speak up, he did not do anything to get her out of the situation. So she's not feeling the love from Lucian like she used to. And she really, really doesn't like Tamlin right now. Like she's kind of just done with him. So she sends them home, and she and Rhys agree that they should try and travel again. They should try and fly and try and get further because they'll get out of the dangerous territory. So while they're flying again, Rhys gets blasted out of the sky with ash arrows, and this time they're separated because Rhys is captured by Hybern's army. Farah is able to find him and rescue him, But thanks to the poison Hybern's army gave him, he's at death's door. So she doesn't know what to do about that, and he's getting worse and worse and worse. So she traps the Suriel. Again, that would suggest closer to the Spring Court, because that's where Suriel usually is. She traps the Suriel, an all-knowing fairy she crossed in the first book, to get some answers on how to treat Rhys, because she needs him functioning. The Suriel tells her that her blood is magic thanks to the High Lord of Dawn's powers. She's got healing magic in her blood, and so she needs to essentially have Rhys drink her blood. Also, by the way, didn't know she knows, because Suriel just loves to spill tea. Gossip is like his favorite thing to do. It's either his or hers. I'm not sure what it is. The Wikipedia said his. I always thought woman. I'm not sure. Suriel's favorite thing to do is to spread gossip, so she's going, hey, by the way, you how's the mate bond going, because now you're with Rhys, obviously that's clicked, right? And she's a little confused, but he's like, oh, Rhys didn't tell you? He's known like this whole time, so you should know by now. She goes back and heals up Rhys, but she is pissed, downright irate about finding out that she has a soulmate this way. Now here's the thing, that they've been mentioning soulmates pretty much since the start of the book with the wedding. Mates has been a constant thing brought up in not every conversation, but a lot of conversations, especially with the backdrop of the previous war, where you find out Jurian got jilted because, I think it was Jurian. Yeah, Jurian got jilted by some woman that he loved who met her mate, and it wasn't him. Mates has always been like a thing, and it's a big thing throughout the whole book. She's so pissed off to find out Rhysand is her mate that she needs to go to a cabin for a couple days. Like, it honestly felt like someone gave her a winning lottery ticket and asked if she was going to collect her winnings, and she just blew up in his face because how dare they give her a winning lottery ticket. I mean, like, seriously, she comes away feeling like, sounding like, oh no, preordained soulmates is a thing which everyone's been telling me about, and mine is a hot king with magical shadow powers that I've been lusting over for months. Yeah, how dare they. I was done with Farrah at this point. Just go back to your easel. Like, I can't with you right now. Like, it wasn't even something worthy of being mad about. Like, that's what's so angry. It's like, that this is not something you get to be mad about. That's just facts you get to take in and go, huh, and you wrestle with it without like blowing a gasket. But that's Pharaoh. Rhysand, being a smart man, gives her several days to cool off, and he joins her at the cabin a week or so later, only to see that she has painted over the walls. And meanwhile, while she's been angry painting all over the walls, she has realized that the color red doesn't terrify her anymore, and she's healed, kind of mentally ish. Now that he's there and they're able to talk things out, she's calmed down and she's better understanding of the situation. So they complete the mating bond. It's really sweet, but at the same time, it's kind of like, didn't have to be that big of a deal, but okay. They hear back from the queens back in Valaris, and the queens agree to meet at the Archeron estate. Rhys and friends fly out there, and despite having the truth orb, telling them about Valaris, and them saying that the truth orb said that that was a real thing, that it was the truth that they were saying, and an impassioned speech by Nesta that they need to get off their asses and actually protect the people of their lands, the queens have decided against giving them the book. No real reason why, just they're like, we're not doing that, bye. And so they peace out. Except one queen comes back, and she has squirreled the book away from the other queens. They don't know that, and she does give it to them. Turns out Hybern has already gotten to them with promises of immortality, and now that they have seen Feyre, a once human who is now an immortal fairy, they believe Hybern's offer of immortality is actually legitimate. And half of the queens are vain old crones, so why wouldn't they jump on this opportunity for immortality and youth? Now Rhys and friends have part 2 of the book, and Amren wastes no time working on translating it. They need to figure out what it says. Even when the queen's betrayal comes to full light, they thought that the queens wouldn't necessarily do too much, just that they were kind of working with Hybern, but Valaris gets ransacked by Hybern's forces because the queens told Hybern about Valaris. And it's the first time Valaris has been breached. However, Rhys and friends are able to fight them back and restore Valaris' shields. However, they also know it's only a matter of time before Hybern attacks again. So they decide, instead of waiting on the Book of Breathings, they need to act quickly and get access to the cauldron, and Feyre can shut it down with a touch. Why wasn't that the plan to start with? Like, why wasn't that plan 1 before, like, Jurian was resurrected and the queens had a reason to turn against? Like, why wasn't that... That could have been step 1. That could have been plan 1, but it wasn't. Everything, they get to the castle, but then everything goes sideways.
We found ourselves on the less prepared side of things, and I knew exactly what to do, but in a much more real sense, I had no idea what to do.
and they're captured by Jurian. Hybern reveals that Tamlin pretty much sold out the Spring Court to get Feyre back.
Some of you may die, but it's a sacrifice I am willing to make.
And to add insult to injury, Ianthe gave Hybern Feyre's sisters to lure Feyre and friends there if the attack on Valaris wasn't enough.
Right to jail, right away.
Here's the thing. I hope Feyre noticed it. I noticed it, but I'm not 100% sure if Feyre noticed it. But like, there's an obvious connection between Ianthe suddenly knowing where sisters are, because only Tamlin, on that side of things, only Tamlin knew where the Archeron estate was. Lucien didn't know. Tamlin knew. He was the only one. The Archerons were not invited to Feyre's wedding, so Ianthe wouldn't have any of that information unless Tamlin told Ianthe where the sisters were. So who...
Yeah, there it is.
I've connected the two dots.
You didn't connect shit, but
I've connected them.
Whether he meant to or not, he has a very strong hand in the sisters being kidnapped by Hybern and by Ianthe for Hybern. On top of that, Ianthe's motives are essentially she wants to become the high priestess, like the highest of priestesses. The idea is that Hybern has promised her that the High Lords are not going to be a thing anymore, and the high priestesses are going to run things like they did, like Amarantha kind of did. She's going to be the new Amarantha, which, I mean, seriously, at this point, Tamlin, what the heck are you doing with her? Like, he's with her in the next book. Like, what are you doing? Why is she there? Like, what are you like, she wants you gone. She wants you gone. He's so dumb. He's so dumb. He's so dumb. Okay, so Tamlin and Lucien are there because they believe Rhys has Feyre under mind control, which, given what they knew about the Night Court, that's understandable.
I mean, come on. I know you. You know you. And I know you know that I know you.
It was why Lucien addressed her in the woods, because again, he thought she was under mind control and didn't understand everything from her perspective. Like, he understood some, but he didn't understand everything. So that kind of gets past. Tamlin didn't even want to understand anything. So he's kind of just gung-ho on this idea, even though I'm pretty sure Tamlin did know that Rhys and Feyre are fated mates. Like, that he had to have known that at some point. They believe she's currently under Rhys's mind control. Pretty much as soon as Hybern brings out Feyre's sisters, Lucien is shocked to see them. Tamlin, not so much. I think he kind of figured out that Ianthe was pulling some shit, but Lucien is shocked to see them almost as much as Feyre and her friends are. The queens are also there because Hybern has a special demonstration for them. He wants to prove immortality is achievable by chucking Nessa and Elaine into the cauldron. It is written in a terrifying way. I can't put it into words in this video, but it's a very stressful, tenuous moment. They really don't want this. It's a terrifying thing. They don't even know if it's going to work and if they'll even be themselves when they come out. But they emerge and are remade as fairies and traumatized by the whole ordeal. Also, we all know that Lucien sucks at timing because he kept on getting caught under the mountain when he was trying to help Feyre with Amarantha in the trials. However, this is probably like his crowning moment of terrible, terrible timing. As soon as Elaine spills out of the cauldron and she's shaking and terrified, he blurts out that Elaine is his mate. Now, I know there's some contestation with this, that everyone thinks Elaine and Azriel are going to end up together, or I have heard one stray theory of Elaine and Tamlin are actually mates and that Lucien's just covering for Tamlin. Seriously doubt that one. However, I don't think with a setup of fated mates that dating clearly that Lucien and Elaine are mates, that's going to end up with a happy ending for Elaine and Azriel. I can go into that later, but that just my thing. This video is already long enough. Feyre makes a quick assessment as they are preparing to plunge a queen into the cauldron. And once she's kind of assessed everything and she is sure her friends can escape and they can get her sisters out of there into Valaris and to safety and that everything will be okay, she pretends to break free of Rhys's mind control and convinces Tamlin to take her back to the Spring Court by pretty much begging Hybern to break her bond with Rhys. Now, what Hybern is able to do is break the agreement bond that they had. So her magical tattoo from the previous book that said that Rhys had custody over once a month for the rest of her life, he's able to break that bond. What he is not able to do is break a fully realized and legitimized mating bond, because that is apparently ironclad. And while they snapped the mating bond into place back at the cabin, they formalized it with everything the night before they decided to do this madness against Hybern's castle. So Feyre is technically, in every legal and magical sense of the word, the High Lady of the Night Court. So as her friends and sisters escape, Tamlin takes her back to the Spring Court with Lucien and friends, and he is completely unwitting that she's the High Lady and she has the intent and the means to destroy him. and the Supreme Court. And that's where the book ends. Now, in all honesty, I've been a bit nervous about making this video, mostly because I know this book is the most popular one in the series. However, out of all of the books, this one ranks number 4 for me. It's not my favorite.
Right to jail, right away.
I struggled so much with this. And to give you a better picture of how much I struggled with it, A Court of Thorns and Roses I read in about 3 to 4 months. A Court of Wings and Ruin I read in about, I think it was 8 months, maybe 9. Okay, 8 or 9 months. A Court of Frost and Starlight I read in a month and a week, so a little over a month. And this one, A Court of Silver Flames, I read in a month and a half. I actually surprised myself with this one, but I blitzed through this one. It was great. This one took me 18, possibly 19 months. A year and a half of my life was spent struggling through this book. I did my darnest to get through it, and like there were several moments where I pretty much was like, okay, I'm going to DNF the series because I was getting really annoyed with Farah. On top of that, I was struggling to get through all of the scene changes and understanding what the heck was going on. I think there were several times where I read like one page 5 times because I didn't understand what was happening. And then there was also the darling comment. There was a lot I had a problem with this book, and I know all of you love it. Everybody who reads the series says this is their favorite book. It is not mine. There was so much that could have, to me, it suffered from some middle book syndrome issues, as well as I really struggled with Farah in this one just because I really started not liking her as a character. I was so done with her as a character. And I know she's supposed to be becoming like this. She's coming out of her cocoon and she's supposed to end up as this beautiful, strong warrior lady, but you really don't see it. Even with like the cauldron thing, she doesn't do much. Like, yeah, she shows some of her powers, but she doesn't do much in the way of fighting. And the whole time they're kind of being held at knife point, essentially, not able to do anything. Cashin has his wings broken at some point, and they can't do anything for the majority of it, and they're watching everything helpless. So while that was interesting to read, that part of it, I struggled through the majority of this book. It took me way too long to read, and I wanted to DNF it so many times. However, I knew the other books were better. I knew I had known from my friends talking to me that A Court of Silver Flames was one I really wanted to read, but I had to get through this first. So because of that, it is ranked number 4. You can disagree. Heck, leave a comment about how much you disagree. But honestly, this was a real struggle for me to read. Yeah, so hopefully the other recaps are more fun after this. I honestly was really nervous about making this video because I know everybody just loves this book, and it wasn't my favorite of the series. Other note, I am blitzing through Fourth Wing. So by the time I'm done making this series, I'll probably be well into Onyx Storm. I'm over halfway done with Iron Flame at this point. And if you saw, I had just started Iron Flame 2 weeks ago when I posted the ACOTAR review. So again, by the time I finish this one, I'll probably do the same kind of recap review video series for Fourth Wing. If you're interested in that, leave a comment. But I will do that after this because we're getting news about ACOTAR soon. Definitely soon. And I do want to post comments about that and theories and discussions and where I think it's going, and I think whatever they reveal soon is going to be very telling, and I can't wait to share that with you. So until then, see you next time.